Hello guys, and in today's video we're going to learn how to use the distributive property. So first thing, what is the distributive property? The distributive property is when we have a number outside of parentheses that wants to multiply to more than one number inside a parenthesis. So for example, if we look at number 1, we have number 5 right here. And what it wants to do is multiply 3 and multiply with 7. So it wants to multiply with both. So if you ever see a number right next to a parenthesis, okay, and inside the parentheses there is more than one number, that means you are using the distributive property. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to solve this. It's very easy. The first thing you're going to see is, what number do I have outside? Okay, I have 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply it by what's inside the parentheses. What's inside the parentheses? 3 and 7. So if we want to do the distributive property, we're going to have to multiply 3 and 7 by 5. So first thing, the 5 is, let's say, the fishing rod. And the fishing rod wants to catch all the fish in the pond. In this instance, 3 and 7 are the fish in the pond. Okay, just imagine that for a second. And 5 is the fishing rod. That's a really bad drawing. But as you can see, the fishing rod wants to catch all the fish in the pond. So, as we said, the fish in the pond is 3 and 7. So 5 is the fishing rod, and it wants to catch all the fish. So first it's going to multiply 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, notice I don't put parentheses here because we don't need it anymore. And then 5 still wants to catch the last fish in the pond, which is 7. So 5 times 7 is 35. Now don't forget to bring that plus sign down. So you add 15 plus 35. You can go ahead and do that in your calculator, and you would get 50 as your final answer. It's really that easy. All you're doing is taking the number that's outside and multiplying it by the numbers that are inside the pond or inside the parentheses. You can always remember parentheses equals the pond. Okay, so pond equals parentheses, parentheses equals pond. That's how my math teacher always taught it, so hopefully that clue will always help you. Okay, next one, number 2. Okay, so what is on the outside, or what is our fishing rod, to be more easier to think about? What is our fishing rod, or what is the number that's outside? It is number 8. Now number 8 wants to catch everything that's in the pond. So what's in the pond? 12 and negative 4. You don't want to forget that negative 4. But if you compare the negative 4 and the 7 in number 1, what's the difference? Before the 7, there's a plus sign. That's why we just put 35 down. Because if I were to say 5, okay, and then I have 3, and then minus 7, if we multiply the 5 times the negative 7, that would equal negative 35 and 15, and that would give us a totally different answer than 50. It would give us a negative number and a completely different number. So that's why you want to be careful with your signs. So always highlight your signs whenever, or circle your signs, or make it clear to you that it's a negative or positive sign. So in number 2, as we said, it has a negative. So that number is negative 4. So we want to start getting the fish from the pond. So 8 times 12 is 96. Okay, regular positive 96. There is no negative before the 12, so it's regular positive. Next, we want to multiply the next number. So 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. Do not forget that negative, because it will completely change your answer if you just put positive 32. Okay, always remember to bring your sign down. Okay, so what is 96 minus 32? And that gives you 64 as your final answer. So you should get 64 while solving this problem for the distributive property. For the rest of the problems, for number 3 to 5, I want you guys to get a piece of paper out and start practicing this. You can work it out or write down the problem and follow along with me, okay, and see if you get the correct answer as me. Okay, number 3. The fishing rod, or the number that's outside of the parentheses, is 6. So we're going to go ahead and do the distributive property. I'm going to go a bit faster now since we got the hang of it. So 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, don't forget that plus sign, so that means it's a positive 9. So 6 times 9 is 54. So we bring that 54 down, and don't forget the plus sign also. So 30 plus 54 is 84. So 84, oops, not 85, 84 should be your final answer. Okay, for number 4, I will give you a couple of seconds to try to solve this problem. Also, if your teacher at school lets you use a calculator for these kind of problems, you can also use a calculator to see how much 9 times 20 is, or 9 times 15 is, or at the end you need to see how much you need to subtract and get your answer. So if your teacher allows you to use a calculator, you could use it. Okay, done yet? Let's go ahead and solve this. So in this problem, 9 is the fishing rod here, and since we need to multiply 9 and 20, let's go ahead and see what that is. 9 times 20 is 180. Okay, and then 9 times negative 15, don't forget that negative 15, so 9 times negative 15 is negative 135. So now, to see your final answer, you need to subtract 180 minus 135, and you would get 45 as your final answer. Okay, let's go ahead and do number 5. I'll let you do the problem first, and then I'll go ahead and solve it. Okay, 4 times 11 is 44. And then 4 times 13, or positive 13, is 52. So you can get 52 plus 44, and that gives you 96. 96 should be your final answer for this problem. Now you know how to use the distributive property. But now it gets a little bit, not difficult, but a little bit more complicated. But it's not really hard at all. It's basically the same thing we've been doing, but just adding a variable instead of a number. So as you can see here, and now of the problems that we're doing, you can see an x instead of a number, an a instead of a number, an m, and an n instead of a number. See, there's different types of variables or letters. A variable is a letter that stands for a number that we don't know. So now we're solving for an expression for a number that we don't know, okay? So for number 6, it's basically the same thing we've been doing. 5 is the fishing rod, and x is 7 are the fish, okay? So we're going to fish for x and positive 7, okay? Now, what is 5 times a variable? It would be 5 and the variable. So it will be 5x. If you don't know how to do that, I'd recommend you go to the solving basic equations, and it will show how to multiply or divide variables with numbers. Okay? So 5 times x is 5x, and then 5 times positive 7 is 35. We cannot simplify this anymore because we don't have an equation. This expression does not have an equal sign, so we cannot solve for that. That's all we can do. Okay, so our answer would be 5x plus 35. Next one, number 7. Okay, this time we have the variable y. The variable does not matter What matters is how you use the variable. So here 3 is our fishing rod, and we're going to fish for the fish. That was a weird thing to say. And 3 times y is 3y. And 3 times -4 would be -12. And that's all we can do for this expression. Number 8, we have 8 parentheses a plus 2 parentheses. So here we have the variable a and the fishing rod 8. So 8 times a and 8 times 2, that would give us 8a plus 16. No. Yeah, 16. And that would be your final answer. Number 9, 6 parentheses b minus 9 parentheses. I'll give you a couple of seconds to solve this, and it shouldn't be hard. It's rarely easy. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to write this down and solve it quickly. Okay, so 6 times b and 6 times -9. Don't forget that negative. Okay, 6 times b, 6b, and 6 times -9, -54. So 6b minus 54 should be your answer. Last one. This one's a tiny bit different, but it doesn't matter. Okay, number 10. I want to see if you guys can solve this one. Okay, got it yet? That's fine if you didn't, but let's try to see if you got it right. Okay, 7 parentheses m plus n parentheses. Okay, we're still fishing out. Doesn't matter if they're variables or numbers. Okay, 7 times m is 7m, and 7 times n is 7n. So that's basically all you get, and that's it, you're done. I hope this lesson was very easy to understand, and I tried my best to take it simple step by step. And if you don't understand anything, try to rewatch the video or practice some problems, and I hope you will be able to understand it more. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!